Assalamu alaikum. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. So tune in, sit back. I got me some tea, and we'll be right back. We're going to get into this conversation about Candace in our series on the women of the Bible. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Sister Sajdah. I want to tell you all about our Sajdah House summer tours and fundraising events. Because you are a friend of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum, you are being given a unique sneak peek into this sacred renovation and restoration. The house remains under construction as we inch closer to the finish line. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you this summer. So click the link in the bio or just go to Eventbrite and search Sajdah House Summer Tours and Fundraising Events.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around Yeah, and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Good morning, assalamu alaikum, family, grand rising to everyone. Welcome to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. How is everyone doing this morning? What y'all drinking? I got me some tea. I have elderberry and kalula flower tea today. So I use my elderberries and a little kalula flower herbs. And this is good for your immune system and for inflammation. I was around a lot of people yesterday. I have to be around a lot of people today and a lot of people tomorrow. So I just do, when I do that, I do my immune boosting stuff just to make sure that I'm good. Look, we are fresh into the National Training Conference. You guys, yesterday was so much fun. It was absolutely powerful. I got a chance to meet some people that we've been seeing in the chat, and I've never met them in person. So we had a great time doing that. I did a presentation, and I think it went well. And so it's just an exciting weekend. So quick announcement about the tours. There's only one tour this weekend, and that's tomorrow at 3:00. A lot of you yesterday were asking me about the tours. So come on, 3:00 tomorrow. And I'll send out an email just to remind you all, but make sure you use the QR code, this one right here, and book your tour and everything. Thank you for those of you who stopped me to grab your coins. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So anyway, I see y'all coming in late this morning. I understand. It's one of those days. And today is my good friend Eric is having his final Silver Room block party today. It's at Oakwood Beach on Lakeshore Drive here in Chicago. It's a little rainy this morning, but inshallah, he'll have some good weather and lots of success. And so we'll see some of you all there today, excuse me, as well as at the National Training Conference. All right. So today we're continuing our series on the women of the Bible. And, I have to talk about this because the more I study this stuff, it's absolutely incredible to me how many women have just been written out of history, and not only just written out of history, but just aren't spoken of anymore. And I just think that as women, even as a people, I don't like all this gender and this stuff we're just oversaturated with as a people. If we have more examples of greatness that looked like us, that we could actually connect to, I actually think we'd be more successful. Honestly, I really do. I feel like that way, especially for us as Black people in this country, where so much of our history has just been written out liquidated, erased, altered. It's incredible. And so when I started studying for this series on the women of the Bible, not only was it motivating for me, but I just found so many things and so many aspects of these great women who looked like me and looked like you, that I could just be inspired by. And I would say to brothers out there, you can get inspired by these incredible women as well, because these women were mothers, wives, daughters, nieces, queens, gods. So this construct, this Western construct, where we're so caught up in a woman's profession and what she does for a living and who she is, and she has to fit into a box before she's desirable. She has to look a certain way. She has to alter so many things about herself. I really think we have to get away from that as a people. And this is some of what I want us to see in this Women of the Bible series, because look, here's the deal. There's somebody out there that you're going to be attracted to. Why subscribe to this Western construct where everybody has to look alike? Everybody has to have the same body shape. Now they're getting to the point where they want, almost like they want there to just be one gender. You can't say, well, I'm a natural woman anymore or a natural man. It's just this way of packaging and boxing people and grafting us into this singularity, which is not representative of the God that created all of us. We're diverse. And so there's women, and we're going to talk about the Candaces. And the Candaces are interesting because they disrespected them so badly that they just thought that Candace was one person. But Candaces was the name of these queens that ruled in what today is modern day Sudan. And they said that they were very big and shapely women. I'm gonna show you a video about that. But I just want us to be comfortable with our diversity. If you don't look like everybody else, it's okay. If you're not shaped like everybody else, it's okay. If your voice is not like everybody else, if you don't have the same hair, let's get away from this Western construct of stripping away our uniqueness so that we become like this singular person. And pretty soon it's almost like we're going to be walking around like robots. Everybody looks alike. And we are so programmed with that as Black people. We get to the point where we all like the same clothes. We like the same hairstyles. We like the same body types and the body shapes. And that's just not who we are. It's not who we are. So again, welcome to the Coffee Talks, Sajdah Saturday morning Coffee Talks. This is our, I think, 5th of the series of connecting the women of the Bible to conscious entrepreneurship. And y'all know how much I love spiritual talks like this in the morning over a nice hot cup of coffee or herbal tea. And today I got my elderberry and calendula flower. And that's what we seek to replicate, just morning talks, just sitting around in the morning. You know how you wake up in the morning and you're just talking to your family and friends. That's what we want to do. Do me a favor. Like and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,000 followers. This has been a challenge because we've been taken up and down and shadow banned. Looks like now we're on a good stretch. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Don't chip and dip me. Make sure you make a donation. It's scrolling across the bottom here. And then hit the notification button so you'll be notified when we go live. And like I said, please support. My goal is to have these coffee talks every single morning. We'll have guests over for coffee or tea and just have elevated conversations. I mentioned that today we're talking about Candace of Ethiopia, or Candace of Cush or Nubia. Shout out to you all in the chat. I don't want to ignore you all. Brother Lamont, Sister Sandra, welcome. Walaikum salam. Good morning, Sister Sandra. Ross Nora, Felicia Home, Leisha X, A Woman's Strength. Welcome, welcome. I see y'all putting emojis up there on Facebook. Welcome, welcome to everyone. Ooh, there's a bunch of y'all on, but y'all not in the chat. That's okay. It's so funny because I was telling somebody the other day that YouTube and Facebook and all them, they are so crazy. Sometimes one day I was looking in the chat and I was naming you all out. There's about 50 you all out here. And then when I looked up on the thing, it said there was 2 people on. So don't worry about it. We're gonna get through it. The important thing is that we're getting these messages and getting ready and getting comfortable with connecting with each other in the morning. So anyway, there were several female rulers of Ethiopia or Cush. Okay, the ancient kingdom of Cush, also known as Nubia, is often called Ethiopia in the Bible. And the region that once belonged to the Cushite kingdom lies mostly in modern day Sudan. I don't have to tell y'all what color the people in Sudan are. Why do I mention color all the time? See, because when I grew up thinking about the Bible, they were white people. And so I didn't feel a connection to them because there was this sort of construct that they were white, they were better, and then we were down here. And I just didn't see myself fitting in. You know, even when they started making superheroes, like you had Wonder Woman, who was very white, and Wonder Woman was actually created by a psychologist. You're going to see that in a video that I'm going to show. And she was modeled after these great warrior Black women that we're talking about in this series. So why not get into and pay attention to the real deal? No shade against Wonder Woman, but she just ain't original. Okay. So anyway, that was modern day Sudan. And Acts 8:27 from the Bible, tells the story of how Philip was a follower of Jesus. Philip is another one that's interesting because when you think about the disciples and the apostles and the followers and the disciples of Jesus, if you will, Philip is not often mentioned either. And I don't know why. That's worth research. But anyway, it's a story of how Philip, who was a follower of Jesus, he met an Ethiopian eunuch. And eunuch is a high-ranking official of the queen of the Ethiopians, this particular eunuch. But there was a queen, a Black queen of Ethiopia, which is now modern day Sudan. And one of her eunuchs or her high-ranking officials actually met Jesus on the side of the road. He was traveling from Jerusalem and he met Philip. During translation, different translations of the Bible use different names, right? Candace, Candace, and explain that their titles, not personal names. So there wasn't like a Sister Candace. The queens, the series of queens were called the Candaces or the Candace. Almost like, King Dahomey in Benin. You have the Dahomey kingdom. So each king was King Dahomey. That was kind of how they did it. But let me read to you. We're going to read Acts 8:25-27, just to put this a little bit in context before we show the video. So 25 begins, and they, when they had testified and preached the word of the Lord, returned to Jerusalem and preached the gospel in many villages of the Samaritans. And the angel of the Lord spoke unto Philip, saying, Arise and go towards the south unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is desert. And then 27 said, and he arose and went. And behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure and had come to Jerusalem to worship. First of all, I hope y'all paying attention to this. Welcome. Let's see who else we got in here. Walaikum salam, Sister Christine, Denise Taylor, Kokla, peace and blessings. All right. Look, the angel of the Lord spoke to Philip and said, "Get up and go south unto the way." So go south toward Jerusalem unto Gaza. How many of you all have been driving home and Allah say, go this way? Or you find yourself turning down the street and you're like, why am I going this way? Maybe it's an angel of the Lord speaking to you. Or maybe there's some energy that you needed to experience. Or maybe there was something that God wanted you to avoid. Maybe there was an accident. Maybe there was somebody following you and you didn't know it. And God said, just let me tell her to turn down this street. Or let me tell him to stop right here. So the angel of the Lord spoke unto Philip and said, arise, I'm paraphrasing, and go towards the south unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza. And he got up and went. And he saw a man of Ethiopia who was an eunuch, who had great authority under Candace. He was the one who was in charge of her treasures and her wealth. So maybe he was her treasury director. Maybe he was her Ministry of Finance. Maybe he was her national secretary. I don't know, but he was in charge of her finances. So imagine God telling Philip, go down south, and he gets up and goes and he runs into this authority figure under Queen Candace. Let me explain to you Candace. So again, like I said, Candace is a title. It wasn't a name. They said Candace, Queen of the Ethiopians. That's just probably in their interpretation of the Bible, them just discounting the authority of the Candaces. I actually had never heard of the Candaces until a couple of years ago. These great queens, African queens, who were around during the time of Jesus. So some interpretations of the Bible say Candace, Candace. Others say Kandake, Kandake. But they mean, or Kentucky is another one. But it means great woman and was used as a royal title or dynasty name for the queens of Meroe, which was the capital of Cush. So some of the Kandakes ruled in their own right. Others ruled with their husbands and seemed to have had equal power with the king. At least one Kandake was the ruler while her husband was her consort. Some of the Kandakers were warrior queens who led their armies into battle. So they were powerful women. We hear a lot about the queens of Egypt, like Cleopatra and Nefertari. That was a different type of rulership. The Candaces actually ruled and defended their territory. It was not a political appointment. So it wasn't handed down like from their father or from their cousin or they didn't just get into those positions politically. Many of them fought alongside their husbands, alongside their men. There's one queen, and I couldn't verify this, who they believe is the one who reigned during the time of Jesus. She had fought and had one eye because she had her eye put out. But she was a queen that amassed great wealth. So I'm going to show a video. We're going to talk a little bit about this. I mentioned growing up that, Wonder Woman was the construct of a psychologist. But I think it's important that we understand where they got this from. So if you're looking for that type of person to be your alter ego, you got the women warriors of Dahomey. You got the Candaces. See, we just have to study. So what I'm going to do, there's a brother who did this video, and I thought he did such a great job. I'm not trying to steal his stuff, but he did such a good job. I want to show his video today. And I want you to like and subscribe to his page as well, so they don't feel like we're trying to jack his stuff. I just want you all to check it out. He is Just watch the video. I'm going to take myself off the screen, and I want you all to just learn. He calls them the bad girls of the Bible. I think it's disrespectful to refer to them as bad girls in that way, but they was some bad girls, if you know what I mean. But some sisters, some queens, some elevated women who ruled. And what I love about it, because most of the stories we hear about are about the queens who ruled and didn't have husbands. Okay. But the Candaces, most of them were married and ruled with their husbands. That's just so dope to me. So anyway, check this out. Check out this video. Feel free to chime into the chat and let me know what you all think.
In 1942, Wonder Woman was created by the American psychologist and writer William Moulton Marston and artist Harry G. Peter. Wonder Woman's origin story relates that she was sculpted from clay by her mother, Queen Hippolyta, and was given a life to live as an Amazon, along with superhuman powers as gifts by the Greek gods. In recent years, DC changed her background with the retcon that she is the daughter of Zeus and Hippolyta, jointly raised by her mother and her aunts Antiope and Menalope. Wonder Woman's character was created during World War II. The character in the story was initially depicted fighting Axis military forces as well as an assortment of colorful supervillains. Although over time her story came to place greater emphasis on characters, deities, and monsters from Greek mythology. Many stories depicted Wonder Woman rescuing herself from bondage, which defeated the damsels in distress, trope that was common in comics during the 1940s. Well, Africa has produced some real-life queen warrior bad girls, Wonder Women, called the Candaces of Meroe. They were the queens of the kingdom of Kush who ruled from the cities of Meroe in what is now present-day Sudan. They were known for brilliant battle tactics. The title of Candaces lasted for 500 years. The title Candace is the name translated from the Latin, which is Candake, and may mean queen regent or queen mother, but could also mean royal woman. From the hereditary title of the queens of Ethiopia, as mentioned in Acts in the New Testament, is apparently derived from Cushitic, meaning queen mother. In some versions of the Bible, it is spelled Candake, Kandake, reflecting the Greek spelling. Now, a Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, is mentioned in the book of Acts when the apostle Philip meets a eunuch of great authority under her reign and converts him to Christianity in Acts chapter 8, verses 27 through 39. In the scripture, as well as in other ancient works mentioning the Candace, the royal title has often been confused with a personal name. In his famous church history, Eusebius mentions the biblical account of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch and notes, Ethiopia, even to the present day, is ruled according to ancestral custom by women. Acts chapter 8, verse 27. Cush was ruled by an alliance of women called the Candaces. So it wasn't just one person. Different from the Egyptians, the Candaces had absolute rule. Cush was thought by some scholars of as a nation never ruled by a man. If a woman was a Candace, she could influence the line of succession and consolidate her power. The Candaces were noted in history as being able to resist and fight off the Roman conquest of Cush. These were some bad girls. King Ergomenes instituted a number of reforms, and among these seems to be the elevation of royal women to the position of queen. Male rulers follow Ergomenes in succession and seem to have had queens who co-ruled or exerted significant influence, but the queen Candace Shanakdakati reigned independently, and so did a number of other women that came after her. Meroe flourished as the capital of the kingdom of Kush and became legendary as a city of fabulous wealth. Located on the Nile in the region which is now modern-day Sudan, Meroe grew rich from trade, and its ironworks and abundant grain supply ensured a steady production of goods others wanted and needed. But it was the monarchy, periodically controlled by women that established and maintained the trade, which encouraged such affluence and wealth. Amantatir is the queen most often identified as the Candace in Acts chapter 8, verse 27. It has been suggested that she may have been Jewish only based on the passage in the Bible in which her eunuch encountered by the apostle Philip is reading the book of Isaiah. However, there is no evidence in Meroe itself which supports the existence of a Jewish community, but such communities did exist throughout Cush in a very, very small number. The biblical passage has also been cited to prove that Amantatir ruled along, since it states her eunuch had great authority and was in charge of her treasury. But those statements hardly prove an autonomous queen any more than the eunuch's reading of Isaiah argues for her being a Jew. Nothing is known of her reign, but physical evidence from the period shows a high degree of affluence and wealth. Now, there were several female rulers of Ethiopia or Cush. The region that once belonged to the Cushite kingdom lies mostly in modern-day Sudan, which is situated directly south of Egypt. So this means great woman, Kendake, Kentucky, K-E-N-D-A-K-E, or K-A-N-D-A-K-E, or K-E-N-D-A-K-E, means great woman. It was used as a royal title, a dynastic name for the queens of Meroe, the capital of Cush. Some Candakes or Candaces ruled in their own right. Others ruled with their husbands and seem to have had equal power with the king. At least one Candake was the ruler while her husband was her consort. Furthermore, some of these Candakes were warrior queens who led their armies into battle. Their huge bodies, they were girls with curves. They tower over their enemies, whom they are shown grasping brutally by their hair with one hand and dealing the beatdown with the other hand. The evidence from the Candaces is different from the Egyptian women who were portrayed as frail and slim. This attribute, combined with the facial scars worn by both the kings and queens of the Meroitic period, were the marks of physical beauty. So they had marks, and that was considered physical beauty, and it was common to Central Africa. Cush and other African nations, such as Egypt and the real Ethiopia south of Cush, were sometimes ruled by women. These women were formidable rulers, and some were effective military leaders. Now, in the Bible, we see a strong woman named Deborah, who was a judge. She led Israel and went into battle in Judges chapter 4, verses 6 through 9. Salome Alexandra was the reigning queen of Judea in the years 76 through 67 BC. Both Deborah and Salome Alexandra were excellent leaders, and the people of Israel prospered under their leadership.
So I just wanted you all to give shout out to that brother. I don't know who he is, but he did such a great job. Yes, Ronald Robinson, our history must be studied and learned. Yes, yes, yes. We have such a rich history. And I was just looking at and thinking about the women. And he talked about Deborah in the Bible, who was a judge. And we're going to talk about covering her and some of the other women. But I want to point out a few things because, see, image matters. And you know that in many of these European museums, excuse me, they have stolen the artifacts of some key spiritual elements in Africa. And I say Africa because even a lot of the quote unquote Middle Eastern artifacts are in museums in France and Germany and England. There's really no such thing as Middle East. It's all Africa. You saw the map there. But a lot of the history, they know what these women look like. There were artifacts that really indicated what they looked like. They knew what Jesus looked like. They have these artifacts from ancient Iraq and Iran, from Cush, from Nubia, from Sudan, from Ethiopia. They went in, and when they robbed those treasure troves that, people talk about the jewels that the so-called Queen of England had before she passed, the sapphires and things like that. These are really spiritual jewelry that have been passed down for hundreds of years that are no longer in places like Africa. You have some things like in Turkey and Jordan, but a lot of that stuff has been ripped and pillaged from Africa and put into European museums. And then what happens when you're trying to, or when you're working to colonize people, you take away their history, right? You erase it, you liquidate it, and you tell them who they were. Just like they trying to tell us down in Florida that we benefited from slavery, as if we did not come from great people who brought skill sets. It's such a lie. You can go right now to modern day Benin and see the slave malls, where written above each stall was the occupation of the people that they stole. So if you were looking for a rice farmer, they got the rice farmer section. They got the cotton section. They got the breeders. And did you know that during Reconstruction, right after the abolishment of slavery, that many of the Black people went back to the same professions that their tribe was performing before they were enslaved, even though it had been 400 years. I keep saying that I'm going to do a show on that, because that's really important for us to understand. A lot of people say, well, what does this have to do with business and entrepreneurship? It has everything to do with that, because you base your ability to do business and to make money on what the white man tells you you can earn. He tells you you have this profession, this is what you can expect to earn. And if you connect with this person, this is what you could earn. You work this many hours, but you come from a long line of wealth and a long line of wealthy people who had professions that were germane to their DNA long before slavery. That if we could just tap into that, we would lock into something and we would have all the wealth that we need and then some. And then what happens? See, because it's not our job to be here on earth. We're not supposed to spend our whole life trying to make money. Did y'all know that? We're supposed to spend our whole life doing God's will. What does He want us to do here? And we live in a capitalist society, so they've placed money as a barrier. So there's you, and there's your authentic self, and then there's your mission that God has you on, and in between that is money. So you either got to chase the money so you can do what it is that you showed up on the planet to do, or they say, well, you can't do it because you don't have enough money. But I believe that if we understood and could connect to our history that existed well beyond these people that are predatory capitalists, we can lock into something, and that divine intervention is going to help us get where we need to go. And it's going to help us to open up the flow of revenue and wealth in our lives. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I pray that I'm an example of that for y'all. So when you think about these women, they had curves. So here we are today. There used to be a time where Black women didn't want curves, and we would cut everything off. I was looking at a video the other day from the 80s, and all the women were slim and straight up and down. And so it was take diet pills, get as skinny as you can. You don't want to have any body. Now people are adding things to their body to make themselves even more curvier. But who knows? You don't even know where you're from. Maybe you are from Ethiopia, from ancient Egypt, and you were one of those slim women. Like he talked about the women in Egypt. Maybe you were one of those. Maybe you're from the great kingdom of Cush, and you're a taller, bigger, curvier person, or a bulkier man. Maybe you're from certain parts of West Africa where you're shorter and a little stockier. That doesn't make you less of a person. That doesn't make you less great. That doesn't mean that you're not all that. But what it does mean is when you're discounting who you are, how you look, how you move and navigate and present to the world, you're pinching yourself off from your greatness. And that pinching off is what impacts our ability to remove the obstacle of wealth as a way of navigating through the world. What would you do if money wasn't an object? See, money shouldn't be an object. If God calls us to do something, money shouldn't stand in the way. You shouldn't be like, well, I can't really do it because I really need a few $1,000,000 in order to be able to do it. And since I don't have a few $1,000,000, I can't submit to God's will. I can't submit to Allah. Think about that. It just really sounds trivial, doesn't it? When you're talking about the Lord of the worlds giving you an instruction, but you can't do it because there's also a resource that he can give you, but because your colonizer says to you, no, I'm going to control your access to money and wealth. You say, well, then I can't submit. Does that make sense? Talk to me in the chat. Sister Felicia says, we are not to follow their history anymore. We know our own history from the beginning to the present and future generations to come. That's what they know and are afraid of today. That's right. Ronald says, seek the kingdom of God first. Everything else will definitely be added. Yeah, it just is interesting to me. So when I think about those women with marks of beauty, when I see them ruling as their husbands, that's another thing that this Western construct makes you think is that as a Black woman, you can't be great if you have a husband. Y'all peep that? You got to marry something else. And I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, but what they've opened up to us as Black women and said, well, you can't really be successful if you marry one of these Black men. So you either got to marry a woman or you got to marry somebody outside of your race. Does that make sense? If you see, to me, if you have a desire, let me just use myself for an example. I say this all the time. I don't have any other options. Okay. Tyrone and Abdul just got to get themselves together. And I'm going to marry Tyrone or Abdul. We'll just see which one it is. But there's no option for me. I don't opt for marrying a woman. I don't opt for marrying a white man. It's within my race and it's a man. That's my desire. Now, if you respect my desire as divine, see, because if I got something in my heart and my head that I want, that I feel like is natural to me, why are you trying to persuade us away from that as Black women? And so, and I think that if we knew more women in history who were powerful and successful alongside their beautiful Black men, I believe this would be motivating for many of us. It'd be motivating for the brothers and it'd be motivating for the sisters. But what happens is they go and tell the men, there's something wrong with your women. They don't do this, they don't do that, they ain't got this right, something wrong with them. So they approach us like something's wrong with us. And then they tell us something is wrong with them. So we approach each other as if something's wrong with each other. And so instead of really just letting that energy between us just kind of flow and vibing it out, we're constantly checking a box, trying to see, is he a narcissist? Is he toxic? Is she a gold digger? Is it this or that? This is, I didn't mean to get into this conversation, but I think it's critical when you think about how our history has been hidden from us. And you think about these great queens. I thought Candace was one person. I didn't know that there was a bunch of Candaces. I don't know about y'all, but I didn't know that. And so when I think about, there was a succession of female leadership in Africa. See, they have you think that Africans don't respect women and that you can't be a ruler, you can't be successful. And then they have us thinking as women, then if you are in charge, then you got to disrespect these men. It's just crazy, and it's unfair. And so let's look at our Bible, and let's look at these women and men of the Bible and the Holy Quran in a more holistic and historical way, so that we draw true inspiration from them. Our rich history. You shouldn't be believing in Wonder Woman and Superman anymore. You should be real clear on the psychology that stripped that character. Let me say it this way. You should just be real clear that it's a cartoon character. When you got real people in your history that you can pull up and put on your wall and say, that right there, that's what I'm striving to. We should be studying. And that's why we're doing this series on the women of the Bible, so that as entrepreneurs, we begin to break down some of the mental barriers. A lot of us don't fail in entrepreneurship because we're not smart. We fail because we don't have the mindset and the motivation to be successful. And how do we do that? We got to start studying other people that were successful. Yeah, you're going to study and you're going to find out, yeah, maybe they got defeated and some of them got killed. I told you one of the queens got her eye put out and she still was the queen. That don't mean that you can't take from their inspiration. What I was listening to that video, what I was hearing was great wealth, treasure, strategic, strong, warrior. They had to defend their wealth. So they had all this wealth and they defended it. And if the women defended it, then 9 times out of 10, the children defended it. And 9 times out of 10, the men defended it too. I doubt that the women were just sitting there defending it on their own. So just something for us to think about. This is just really all designed to raise our awareness and give us something to really, really think about. I'm working on the Queen of Sheba, who is mentioned both in the Bible and the Holy Quran. That's going to be a good one. That might be a 2-part series. I want to do something on the mother of Moses and her great faith. And of course, the mother of Jesus. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Wish you all a happy Saturday. And I pray that you all just receive more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. I pray that everybody's watching, that follows and supports, that this ignites something in you and you move forward and you become a better person, that you find yourself in front of some checks that you didn't have. And what are those checks going to do? They're going to give you options. They're going to allow you to be a little freer than maybe you were before it, and make sure you use it wisely. So my prayer is that all of you all are blessed today and forever forward. We got some good potential guests coming up. Next week is the Power Networking Conference. Inshallah, we will have a show on Thursday. We'll see. I may tape it earlier, or I may do something live from the Power Networking Conference. We'll see what happens. Okay, family, make sure you like and subscribe. Please don't chip and dip me. Go to Cash App, $Mo today, MOETODAY. And y'all, please get your commemorative Elijah coin and book your tour. We want to get this house finished this year. And so we got some money to raise. And if you're interested in sponsorship, y'all know what to do. Send me an email, sajdahhouse@gmail.com. All right. Peace and blessings, family. Happy Saturday.